lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hello, everybody. Wow, I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Now, some of you over in the States and in Australia may or may not have come across the lovely Leona, but here in the UK, I feel like any woman that's ever run a business knows Leona Burton. Leona, welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I've just realised that we're on camera and my kids' fingerprints are all over this window, but we roll, we move, right? We move.
100%, because it's all about making it real, right?
Certainly real in my world.
So, Leona, I have a million questions for you. And that's why I was so excited, because I feel like there's so many different areas we could touch on today, because, you know, you've got such an incredible business that's so relatable for so many. Mm-hmm. And in particular, I think, you know, I'd love to go down the route about the kind of being busy mum, growing a business a bit later on, because that's the bit I think that so many of us do find relatable, whatever business we're in. But please tell us, first of all, who is Leona Burton?
So I am a mum of 6. I'm a wife to 1. Thank goodness I couldn't cope with 2 husbands. 6 kids is plenty. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I am the founder of an organisation called Mommas in Business International. We currently have around 300,000 women in our community. Some of them moms, some not moms. And I support a lot of women in their business. And I've been very, very passionate for a very long time, way before it was cool to be known on the internet and all that jazz, to really help facilitate the growth that I feel that we deserve to have as women and as creators of businesses and families. And I think that support has definitely been lacking in a lot of areas for a very long time. So try and bridge the gap.
Yeah. And where did that vision first start? Like, did you always start out wanting to create Mommas in Business International, or is that something that kind of fell into that?
So I had my first son at 18. I feel like this is an important blurb for you guys. So I had my first son at 18 after leaving school with no qualifications. I was top percentage in the country for my academic abilities. Ended up leaving school with no qualifications, which actually was ridiculous. I was supposed to do all of them 2 years early. You know, teenager, you think you know everything and all the things. Had my son at 18, had my second son at 19, had my third, had a daughter at 21. So I had 3 children under 3, 21. That was interesting. And throughout that time, I went back to college. I did all of the things. I did business. I did, you know, media. I did all of the things trying to please everybody else. And what I really wanted to do was performing. And I went and studied performing. I loved it. Really good at it. Awesome. Great. Trying to perform with 3 young children is next to impossible. I mean, it's such a challenge. And not being inside of London was also going to be a challenge for me. And so I spent 8 years in and out of television and love television, love being on set, love the people, and learned a lot about networking when I was in the television industry. And what I realised is everybody knows everybody. Like, I would walk into our television studios in Cardiff and you'd find Matt Smith talking to, you know, Dixie from Casualty, and you'd find, you know, the most random of relationships would be born out of the cafeteria. And at that point, I realised that network was everything. So I left television when my son was diagnosed with autism, my nearly now 20-year-old. He's nearly 20, which is wild. And it was becoming apparent that trying to manage having a child with autism and schooling at the same time as building a career in television was going to be nigh on impossible. So started a couple of businesses. Some of them went a little, well-ish to a degree for being a, 20-something-year-old. And some of them went horrifically wrong. And they went horrifically wrong because of my lack of knowledge and my experience and, not really understanding business and not really having any mentors around me and not having a great network. I lived in an area where people hated me because I wore eyeliner to the school gates and, that's such is life. And so I realized very quickly that I needed to expand my network. And I needed to find people that were on the same wavelength as I was. And I went to a couple of networking events. And I thought, I'm never, ever going to networking events ever again. It's just hideous. Like it was card slinging, dick swinging. Sorry, we're allowed to say dick here.
You can, yes.
It was very, dick swinging. It was very pretentious and not in the, people have got money way, but it was like almost forced pretend, like, look at me, I'm so fabulous. And I don't play that game. So I was like, no, not doing this. I hate it, never going. And not very long after that, myself and another person, we set up what is now the main Facebook group. And it grew very quickly. And the idea behind that was to really facilitate conversation for moms specifically at the time in business so that they could have a safe and supportive environment. And what transpired over the next 6.5 years has been a movement globally. We have, like I said, we have the world's biggest network for mums in business. We have over 110 countries in our main support community. We have hundreds of communities all around the world. And so for me, it's been really an amazing, frustrating, hard, confusing, wild journey over the last 6 years. But no, in a long way to answer your question, no, absolutely. I didn't set out to create a business. I set out to build relationships with people. And honestly, I think that is one of the reasons why we've been so successful is actually because when I wanted to build genuine connection with people, it was because I wanted to build genuine connection with people rather than building a community to sell them stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I sold a lot of stuff over the last 6.5 years, but that wasn't the intention in the beginning. And I think people felt that in the way that we delivered. And like, I've created a lot of success. I'm here, the lighting's bad. I didn't know whether we were going to be on camera. I've got fingerprints all over my window. But I live a very nice lifestyle, but that's the reality. And I think that reality for a lot of people is like, oh, I can build business and I don't have to be perfect and I don't have to have the perfect setup. I don't need to have the perfect lighting all the time. If my kids come in and scream like kids do, it's going to be okay. And I think that wasn't done on the internet 6.5 years ago. And we kind of broke through the barrier of needing to be perfect all the time. And so there was this kind of disruption in the industry of, behind the fakeness and behind the curtain and what it really takes to grow a business.
And I love that because, it's all about finding the people that want to hang out with you that are relatable, like find you relatable. And so, you were the most relatable person possible that could have, started a business to support mums in business. And so do you think, this has been a massive part of your success, that you've always been really real, really genuine. You say it as it is. You're very open and frank and transparent about the good days and the bad days. Do you think that that's really important for business owners to sometimes be vulnerable?
100%. I think there is so much fake it till you make it waffle on the internet. And it's amazing. And the pictures are amazing. And, we all like to think that we can grow a business in 4 hours in a week, but the reality is that's not real. It's just not real. And we were having a conversation before we went live about the fact I'm the world's laziest marketer now. But I also worked for years and years and years and years and years, 18 hours every single day. I didn't take a holiday. Even if I was on holiday, I was working. Even Christmas Day I posted into my community. And that's led me to the point today where I can take a little bit of time off and I can take my foot off the gas and, those things. But I think it's vital actually to people's mental health more than anything. Mental health has been suffering for years. And one of the reasons why business owners' mental health suffers is because they're trying to live this weird ideology that does not exist. It's not real. People don't live on a yacht all the time. Unless you're a billionaire, that stuff doesn't happen. And I know billionaires and they still don't live on a yacht all the time. And so I think it is important that we pull back the curtain. Now, if you are somebody who is exceptionally polished, who loves decent lighting, who loves to put your makeup on, or whatever it is, do that. But I also understand, I know that there are lots of people that that's not their norm. And if we're telling them that that's the only way that they can be successful, those people are going to feel out of alignment. And so it is difficult and it is challenging and it is frustrating and it's all of those things, and it's all of those things for everybody. There isn't a single business owner that I haven't encountered that has not faced challenges, and that's normal for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the fact that, you're happy to get on camera, makeup on, makeup off, having a great day, looking fab, having a bad day with kids crawling over you, that just means that other people can go, oh, it's okay for me not to have my shit together all the time. And I think it's really interesting because I used to be that person that was like, well, if I don't have my hair and makeup on, I won't do a podcast today. Or if I'm not looking great, I'll wait until Friday when I'm going to wash my hair. And now I'm afraid some people get me looking nice. Some people get me looking awful. Sometimes the hair's done, sometimes the hair's not done. Because I did discover that the whole time I was trying to always be on my A game, other people then just found it hard to show up with me because they couldn't keep up, and they weren't always on their A game. So allowing myself to be vulnerable and a little bit more real is definitely something I've had to grow into. And now, I'm quite happy and I feel quite safe being able to do that. But for anybody listening, I think it's important for you guys too. And, I know we always want to be professional when we run our dance schools, but, to actually turn around sometimes and say, hey guys, I'm really struggling at the moment, or I need some of your help. The hardest thing that my principals have is asking their people, their tribe, to help them to grow their business. I say to them, have you actually sent an email out to all of your parents telling them that you're going to put this post on Facebook and I'd love it if you could share it for me because that really helps me to grow my business? Well, I don't like to ask. Oh, I wouldn't like to ask them that. What would your words of wisdom be around, because you crazy scaled, like the word scale is off the scale for your business and your reach. How would you help a small business to scale what they've grown and built without massive hustle involved? Are there any magic tips?
I mean, yes and no. I don't want to fill your mind with fluff, right? The reality is there are always going to be points in your business where you have to hustle. And I don't believe that we should glamorize the hustle, but I also don't believe that we should downplay the reality that it takes hustle in order to grow your business, because it really does. Yeah. However, I would say that you need to get comfortable with asking for help 100%. And here's one of my small people now coming through the stairgate. If you can hear that, that's the stairgate. So be okay with the fact it's going to be hustle. Don't look sideways, because when we look sideways, all we see is everybody else's success. And what we don't see is their sacrifice and the hours and the time and the failure and the knockbacks and the no's, and also their experience over the years. So people that become overnight successes most of the time have been in their industry or doing something similar for a very long period of time. So yes, understand you've got to hustle. Don't look sideways. Keep your eyes on the prize, but actually go out there and ask and have those conversations. Now, one of the things that has massively helped me is networking. I went from absolutely detesting networking to being obsessed with it. I am literally obsessed with growing my network. Now, it is not strategic. I don't walk into a conversation like I'm going to nail this person so that they become X, Y, Z, A, B, C. But I genuinely understand that the more that I'm around people, the more I'm around different people, the more I can learn. The more I can learn, the more I can grow, the more I can grow, the more I can expand my business and my knowledge and my skill set and all of the things. So I do believe that your network is absolutely everything. Now, I am very well known in the UK, and I have built that, and that's just been part of who I am and my brand. And it's very rare that I can walk into a room and in certain environments where people don't know who I am, whether they like me or not, they do know who I am. And so I strategically recently has been spending more time in the States. Now, interestingly, when I went to the States a couple of weeks ago, I was in an environment where I expected absolutely nobody to know who I was. And I was fine with that, right? The zero ego. And two ladies at different occasions were like, oh my gosh, you're that woman who does that Mums in Business thing. And I was like, oh, my reach is pretty good, right? But that's as a result of networking. That's as a result of being in the right room, having the right conversations, being open to listening. I think we tend to go into a networking situation with the idea that we're going to sell somebody something. Reality is 98% of the time those sales don't happen that way, and it is expanded and extended conversations actually make the biggest impact to your bank balance, right? And those things are important. So build on those relationships, have those conversations, loop back with those people, reach out to them, ask for help, ask for opportunities to be seen and heard. Ask your parents for referrals and recommendations. Think about ways in which you can tap into their network and, offer their child a free one-to-one if they bring you 5 new clients or whatever it is. Think outside of the box, get creative. And I think one of the things that social media has discouraged is creativity. And I think because we live in such a judgmental society, unfortunately, that when somebody is creative, have you seen that person doing that thing? And blah, blah, blah. The reality is, who cares? At least you're having a go. And that's what I would say is put yourself out there. And if you fall, you fall. People will forget about it tomorrow. People are so focused on their own stuff that they give you 5 minutes of attention and it's gone. So I would be pushing yourself continuously to grow those businesses, because you never know when you're going to have to pull in some favors and pull in some kind of recommendations or some advice from the people that you've put into your network.
And, networking is an interesting thing. I've only been to a few networking events. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. In the last couple of years on my business growth journey, I'm involved in a lot of groups that I guess you could call networking. But when I was running my dance schools, I did exactly the same as you. I went to a local business networking meeting. I was the only female there. Everybody were lawyers or solicitors or estate agents. And I literally stood there with my morning breakfast croissant and a coffee in a corner thinking, what the hell? How can I sneak out as soon as I can without anyone noticing that I've gone? And, in the end, I was like, this is ridiculous. You've got up early. You've made an effort. You've come out here. Come on, let's just actually see what this is all about. And I did kind of make a massive attempt to get involved and speak to everyone. And you know what? Not one person in that room had anything, in my initial opinion, that was going to be of any benefit to me having conversations. But I walked out with 4 sponsors that wanted to put an advert in my program for my next dance school show that paid for the printing of the program. And I hadn't even gone in with that intention. It's just something that happened. People walked up and said, do you have, I was telling them about the show we were about to do. And they started asking about programs and marketing. And I was like, yeah, I can. Yes, great idea. And before I knew it, and they were anything to do with my business, not even mums. And so I think you just don't know until you put yourself out there. Now, then I went to a Mums in Business networking session, and I was like, now this is a bit more like it. This is a group of women. This is a group of people with big visions and big dreams, the same as me. And they're not all corporate or well-established businesses. They were people that had visions, and they were creative, a lot more creative people. And before I knew it, we were all able to, in one way or another, help each other, scratch each other's backs. And you know what? If nothing else, I came out having had a really great couple of hours chatting and mixing to other people that were also moms and also, wanting to achieve their dreams, and just mixing with other female entrepreneurs in itself was encouraging, inspiring, and, wonderful. And so How do people find out about what you do? If they haven't come across you, how do they find out? And tell us a little bit more about what happens in your sessions. And of course, you're at every single one, aren't you?
Well, we do have hundreds every month, so that would be a challenge. So, what happens typically at a MIB networking event is it's usually 2 hours long, although Romania are guilty of running them for far too long, in my opinion. And we will often have a guest speaker and some sort of speed networking or some sort of intro session. And then people literally go off, we give them a task to do, or we'll play fun games. And each session is run slightly differently to keep it fresh. We don't want to just, we're fun. We're a fun group of people, okay? So if you attend one of our networking events, you're going to have a good time. I'm just putting it out there. And we will do different things per session. So nothing is ever the same to keep it fresh, to keep it energetic and inspiring, and also to encourage you to ask different questions. A lot of people feel very awkward in a networking environment. Standing up and doing the elevator pitch for a lot of people is horrendously embarrassing for a lot of people. So we don't tend to encourage just standing up and doing your elevator pitch. We're very involved and active and supportive in that environment. And to me, even though it's labeled as a networking company and events, for me they're like empowerment events. We're in this together, and there are millions and millions and millions and millions, and unfortunately we don't track quite like BNI, but there are upward of 20 million spent through our community over the years just through having those connections. And I know that within the industry we are underestimated because we focus on fun, because we focus on connection, and we're not, we're here to do serious business. We are here to do business, but the reality is that business comes as a result of the connection. And in my opinion, obviously, in my humble opinion, it's a much better way to connect, and it's a much better way to network than, card swapping or, mixing your cards around in a bowl and seeing which card you pull out. I mean, that's just so cringy and old school in my opinion. So we are very much about connection, and I teach connection. And honestly, all of my clients are absolutely stonking their results, and that's as down to really connecting on a deeper level with their client. So I think if you can connect with somebody on something that you can find a connection with in their experience and their knowledge and their power, then you have the ability to turn that person into a client potentially.
Now, I would love to invite you to the Dance Business Conference, which is held in Birmingham in the UK. This is a wonderful 2-day event where you are going to listen to some incredible keynote speakers. You're going to do some workshopping. You're going to learn lots of new things around running your dance school. You're going to meet lots of exhibitors that have businesses that could be great for you to work with. But more importantly, we're going to make friends, we're going to have fun, and we're going to hang out together, all learning how to be inspired and motivated to run a better school. And of course, we also have the Gala Dinner Dance, which is the red carpet event of the year for dance school owners, where we present the Dance Business Awards. So if you would like to exhibit or sponsor the conference, if you would like to attend or enter the Dance Business Awards, then please go to www.dancebusinesssolutions.com, where you can buy your tickets, find out more information, and hopefully come join me on the 8th and 9th of August. See you there. Yeah. And, I know that some of my dance school owners are busy thinking, I don't know, I'm so busy. Is that, that time actually going to pay off for me? And there's not going to be people there that, are my clients. I really do think that people need to think broader. Like when I went to one of your events, there was a photographer, beautiful woman that was a photographer that ended up doing some shots for me and my school. There was a lady that made beautiful handmade gift cards. She did some special cards for my seniors when they left to go off to university. There was somebody else that was strong on printing. I think her and her husband owned a printing business. I ended up using her for my t-shirt printing. Like, it's not about going and finding other dance school owners. It's about, the other businesses that help to support your businesses. And I think that people don't understand the value of going and making those connections. They just think, I can just find someone online and, or get a recommendation and I'll work with them. But actually meeting people face to face and building those connections is a whole different thing, isn't it?
It's an entirely different thing. I've had one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and I'm actually going on tour this week, it's meeting people face to face. I always do a tour every single year of our events because I think it's really important that I meet our community and it deepens my level of connection with them. Now, I am very open and honest, like we've already said on the internet, but meeting somebody in real life is a whole nother ballgame. And when people meet you and they're like, you're the same as you are online. I'm like, yeah, go figure, right? We're not pretending. Promise that would be too much hard work. That connection is everything. And I do think people should prioritize that. So when I flew to LA maybe 4 weeks ago, I went to network. In all honesty, I didn't know what I was going to take away from that event other than I knew I was going to work the room. Now, when I'm in a room, I will work it. So I make sure that I meet as many people as possible. I get to know people. I get to understand their energy, whether that person's for me or not, because not everybody's for you, right? But I was going to work the room. Now, not only did I work the room, I did really work the room, but I also learned a lot from being in that room. I learned a lot from Jack Canfield, who was the speaker, but I also learned a lot from the other people in the room. There was a guy that I met and really connected with. He was a 7-time Emmy Award winner. There was a Hollywood director. I mean, these people are at the top of their game and super inspirational. And you're thinking, well, they're not going to attend your networking events or they don't need networking or whatever. No, but I was there to learn from them. And they were there to learn from me also. And they were very receptive to that. And I find that most people that are super successful, and I don't just mean financially successful, I mean successful in all areas of their life, are receptive and they're open to that connection. And they have a lot to give, but they also have a lot to receive. They're open to learning and learning. They're open to expanding on their knowledge and their wisdom. So if you're going into an environment thinking, well, what's in it for me? Well, actually, clients, if you've got a dance school and you want more clients, at some point your kids are going to leave and go, travel or go off to uni or whatever it is they do. You're going to need a consistent flow of new clients. Well, if you go to one of Mommas in Business, for example, there are moms there with children, right? And they're looking for dance schools, for example. There are people who have nieces and nephews or, grandchildren attend. So for me, every opportunity when you meet somebody, there's another opportunity to expand your network so you become the go-to person in your area for what it is that you do. And I think we forget that. We think about networking as kind of this very cliche, hard work, don't really want to go, nobody wants to eat stale sandwiches or whatever it is that people serve at those types of things. And realistically, it is an opportunity to broaden and widen your visibility. And in all honesty, there is nobody with a community quite like mine, and that is because of my network. And that was as a result of getting out the front door and opening my mouth.
Yeah And I can't say enough how much that really is the case. And someone that's been to one of your events, 100%. And, I talked a little bit just now about the other businesses that would help and support my business with things that my business needed. But also, like you just said, one lady that I met ran a baby sensory company. And we realized, actually, we've got the same demographic here. We've got the same customers. So let's do a swap, let's send something out about each other's businesses, let's put posters up in each other's venues, And another lady was a lady that was a local head teacher in a primary school. So she was like, oh, give me some information and I'll send it out to all our kids. So you just don't know who you're going to meet that's going to have a reach. And like you said, you don't necessarily go to these events, with an agenda, right? I want to come away with 5 new students. It's just being open to the possibilities. Like, you just don't know. It's quite magical. Like, you don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't know what you're going to get from it. And one month it might be that you don't necessarily get anything, but you just give to others. And I'm a massive believer in the more you give, the more that comes back to you. So you might get nothing at one event in terms of what you think of is a tangible result. And then the next one you go to, you're like, wow, I met 5 people that are going to help me grow my business. I met another 5 people that have got something to help me in my business. You know, it's just that I love that you encourage so much giving as much as receiving or taking, if you like.
I think I honestly think you should give more than you take. I do. Yeah. And I think, you know, it always makes me chuckle because the amount of relationships that I have had for a long time and looped back to, I've waited 18 months for a meeting with people, you know, and I think most people think, well, you know, they haven't responded or haven't got what I want from them, so therefore I'm not going to follow up or I'm not going to expand on those conversations or those relationships. And it's like, guys, if you want to build your network to be full of people that have incredible businesses and incredible skills and incredible knowledge, those people are hard, you know, they are hard workers and they are busy people. So they're not going to be at all the things. They're not going to be available all the time. And so you are going to have to wait and you are going to have that patience. And I think that's something that if I can encourage everybody to do is to do that, is to be more patient. I am the fastest moving person that I know. I move incredibly fast. I'm totally ADHD. I drive my ops manager completely nuts. But one thing that I will say is that I have patience and I stick it out when the going gets tough. And trust me, over the last 6.5 years, it's been incredibly tough. You know, we went from 270 in-person events every single month around the world to COVID. You know, COVID shut the whole thing down. And when that happened, we had a lot of turnover to very little turnover very quickly. And so to navigate that was incredibly challenging. And everyone's like, Leona, it's time, like, just give it up, like, you know, go do something else. And I was like, no, I'm going to support these women. And I provided lots for free throughout COVID. And we transitioned to online. And, you know, for a while, online was really successful. Then people got Zoom burnout because, you know, everything was on Zoom. So they were like, no, I don't want to be on Zoom ever again. And so that whole transition and then transitioning back and people not wanting to get out of the house after they've been in the house for 2 years, all of that was incredibly tough. And don't get me wrong, you know, with the times when my husband was like, Leona, like, you can earn 6 figures working part-time in mentoring. And, you know, and I was like, yes, I can. But this is my mission and this is my vision. And it's never been about money for me. That's not my primary focus. And have I made a lot of money and have my businesses turn over a lot of money? And they are 2 different things, by the way, guys. You know, the reality is my mission and my vision has always been much bigger than that. So for anybody that's listening, that's feeling frustrated, I just want you to know that business is not easy and it is tough and there are challenges. But if your vision and your mission are bigger than your excuses and all of the difficulties that will come across your desk or land upon your lap, you will build a successful business. Now, I can't define what that success looks and feels like because everybody's idea of success is different. But I will tell you this, you're going to have a successful business that looks like more than you have right now.
I love that. When your mission and your vision is bigger than your excuses. I really love that, you know, and actually recognizing the days when you're making excuse after excuse after excuse, you know, and then
it happens. It happens to us all. You know, the reality is I've been taking my children to the beach every day in the morning for sunrise. Every single day I've thought, well, it's a bit cold, or stay in and have a cup of tea, or I literally have to drive 3/4 of a mile down the road. I'm human, right? And I've been working on my mind for a very long time, but I can still find excuses, but I don't allow them to win. And that's the thing, guys. We all have them. They're all there. We all have the same mind monkeys. They're all talking to us. Some are louder than others, but it's having that control over, I have a choice as to how I deal with this situation. I have a choice as to whether I allow that to win. I have a choice as to whether I allow that frustrating situation to take over and completely consume what it is that I want to achieve, or I can use it as fuel. And I have been known to use every single fall that I've had as fuel for my fire. And I've had some massive falls. I really have. And I had spinal surgery, emergency spinal surgery 2 years ago. They told me I was lucky to not be paralyzed. I was slowly being paralyzed from the waist down. I have significant nerve damage in both of my legs. I, should be registered as disabled, but I refuse to be just because I'm really stubborn. And so I understand all of those things. It's I can find them too. I can, if I want to, but I'm just really pig-headed and stubborn.
And you would not think, watching you dance on the dance floor, as I did a few weeks ago, that you were somebody that's supposed to be registered disabled. Because
I know, right? I danced all night from beginning to end. I was the first on there and the last off. But honestly, that's just a mindset thing. And it was, I was in a wheelchair for a while, and then I was walking with a stick. And 10 days after my spinal surgery, I'd booked to go on tour. And I remember there was an event in Birmingham, and I drove myself to the event, which I probably shouldn't have done. And my son came with me, and we had to walk from the car park to the event space because you couldn't pull the car in. And it was probably about half a mile. And this half a mile took me, I'm no joke, 45 minutes. And my son was laughing. He was like, "Mum, you're being overtaken on the right by an old lady." And I was like, "Just give me a minute." And I walked that half a mile there, and I walked that half a mile back. And I remember thinking, I will just not give up. And I got to this event, I was absolutely knackered with a stick in my hand, like a 87-year-old woman, fresh out of spinal surgery. But I got there and I did it. And I genuinely believe my recovery was so fast because of my mind. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, I can't heal my nerve damage in my leg with my mind, but I could. There were certain things that I could work on, and I took control of those things, even when I was really frustrated.
Wow. And actually, I think that sums up how you've grown an audience of 350,000 with events taking place in just about every country in the world. Because, my mentor last year, Nick James, he always says that business is a lot of success in business is down to how you manage your mental and emotional state. And if you can be in control of your mental and emotional state, you're a wonderful example of, just look what can be created when you're not making excuses for yourself or telling yourself you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or you're not worthy. And so, what an absolute inspiration you are, Leona, to so many people. And, one of the things I just wanted to say also, and it is going back to something you were talking about earlier, but it's just my way of showing gratitude and loving on you. I went to an event recently, and there were a few people there that are quite big in the online space. And there's that little bit of, celebrityism that kind of surrounds them. And you kind of think, oh, I'm going to get to see so-and-so. I'll meet so-and-so. I've understood so-and-so is going to be there, and then you get there, and actually they were surrounded by their group, their whatevers, their entourage, and didn't have time for anybody other than talking to the highest caliber person in the room in their eyes. And then there was Leona, who came and up with a smile and spoke to me, just a nobody, agreed to be on my podcast, made me get up and dance at the after party, which I didn't want to do, and she made me. And just so normal, but beautiful, and no airs, no graces, no ego. And yet, actually, you were probably the biggest name in the whole room, and yet the most beautiful, warm, encouraging, open person. So I just wanted to give you that today.
Thank you. I have always made it my mission, and I think this is really important for anybody that's listening. I think you can get swept up in your own stuff when you start to build success. But one of the biggest lessons is anybody that climbs up the ladder, at some point they're going to take a few falls down the ladder. And if you've been destructive on your way up, people remember that on the way down. And so when you're growing as a business owner, it's so important to remember that you are just a human and you are not superhuman, and to treat everybody kindly and with respect and have boundaries. Absolutely. That's really important. But also remember that You are just a human, and you're going to fall at some point, and people are going to remember that, especially if you've been an arse. So don't be an arse is what I'd say.
Absolutely. What a wonderful way to start wrapping up the podcast. Just don't be an arse, basically, and you'll all be highly successful. That's
Absolutely.
a book title there, Leona. That could be your next book.
Yeah, bring it on.
The last couple of questions I love to ask are like quick fire questions. So are you happy to go with whatever just comes straight to mind?
Let's do it.
Okay, some of them are stupid, some of them are a bit deeper. So I'll go with the easy ones first. Favorite food?
Chinese.
Favorite film?
Oh, depends. Santa Claus.
Favorite business book?
Oh, well, Slight Edge.
Do you know who that's by? So people can go look at
Jeff Olson.
Fabulous, thank you. Favorite way to look after yourself? Favorite self-care?
Beach.
Go to the beach. Do you have regrets?
No.
If you could do something better, what would it be?
Ooh, parenting.
I can't comment, but I'm sure you are the most wonderful parent.
I am a pretty good parent, but parenting is a challenge, right? It's it's a challenge. We're always learning and growing.
Absolutely. If you could go back and hang out with someone from history that's no longer here for 15 minutes, who would it be and why?
Oh, great question. Who would it be and why? Marilyn Monroe, because I just think she's a legend, and somebody who is a bit of a rebel, and I love rebels. I'm rebellious. Yeah, Marilyn Monroe.
Awesome. What would you ask her?
I would ask her how she became so confident in herself, because she's a badass woman, and how she put up with so many dick swinging men in a time when dick swinging was very popular.
And wrap them around her little finger while she was doing it.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
And who would you hang out with that's still alive if you could hang out with anyone on the planet for 15 minutes?
Okay, so I've hung out with some really cool people. One of the people that I haven't hung out with yet, but I'm putting it out there, is Adele, because she's a legend.
Okay, share. Who have you hung out with that's a pretty cool person? Because James
Corden's pretty cool. He's such a nice guy. Whatever the press tells you is nonsense.
Okay.
Matt Smith, Doctor Who, he's a very interesting guy. And to be honest, a lot of the celebs, whatever. But I've just met some really cool people over the years, and some really successful people that they don't feel the need to share their success everywhere. I do believe that we live in a society where we feel the need to share all of our things, our bank balances and our Balenciagas and whatever else. And actually, most highly successful people that I know, this just doesn't happen.
Yeah. My husband and my son, actually, my husband's just retired this year, but both worked on super yachts with people with a lot of money. And they said the higher up the celebrity was, or the more money the person had that had the boat, the nicer they were, because they didn't need to prove themselves anymore. They weren't still fighting to get up that ladder in some way. And so, yeah, the higher the A-list, the nicer they seem to become, which is, interesting.
It's true. It's right.
Yeah. And what is still left to do for Leona?
Oh, I mean, there are so many things. I just have so many things I want to do. Okay, so I want a television show. Definitely, 100%. I want a television show. I had one signed, sealed, and delivered before COVID, and that fell apart thanks to COVID. I want to go into directing. I want to direct some films and TV. I want to expand MIB, obviously, but I'm a creative. I'm not just going to do one thing. I never just do one thing, because it just bores me. And I'm massive into charity work. I think we all have the power to do something. I don't care where we are in society. I do feel like, change it comes when we are collectively supportive of each other. So more charity work.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we'll leave that there. More charity work, more supportive of each other. Ladies and gents and everybody else, if you haven't been to a MIB event, do look it up. How do they find them? Is it just a case of Googling?
You just Google us. We're everywhere. I mean, we really are. Like, if you can't find us on Google, I'm concerned. Really.
Find your local event, go along, go with an open mind, go with an open heart. And I promise you, you're going to come away with something and probably be hooked and then be going to lots more. Anything else? I mean, we talked at the very, very beginning before we started recording. You've managed to build such a big presence and awareness and community now that actually when you want to create something, you create it, you put it out there, and you don't even need to do any marketing. It sells before it's basically left your brain. Wow, like we would all love to be in that position. But what have you got coming up that people could find out about apart from your local groups? Anything that's in the pipeline or anything you want to steer us to?
I run every January, so I run something called 30 Days to Success, and we walk through 7 main areas of your life, and I help you build success in your life and your business. That is very successful. People absolutely love it, and it's a ridiculous bargain. Like at the moment, it's £59, which, I mean, hello, it's ridiculous. But I wanted to make it accessible for everybody because I believe that everybody deserves success in their life and their business. So yeah, if you're ready to make a change, come on over. Let's have a chat. But in all seriousness, if you Google me or find me on socials, I'm always running free stuff. I really am, because I do believe in free. I think, you can do so much good with free stuff. As long as you implement it, guys, we have to implement. Come and take a look.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I knew it was going to be a fab interview. Really inspiring for all the women out there that, have a vision. Don't make excuses. Keep in control of that mindset and just keep going with that empowerment that certainly Leona has. It's been really inspirational, Leona. Thank you so much. And all the best for everything next year. So I wanted to quickly tell you a little bit about Showtime Circus. This is run by my good friend Jess, who has created an incredible circus bolt-on franchise for your dance school. Because aerial and circus performance skills has become a really desirable skill set for choreographers and casting directors. And so Showtime Circus offers the opportunity to buy a franchise package which will give you all of your necessary equipment, training from experienced staff, syllabus plans, ongoing support, and business support to launch your new franchise. It will really energize your school with increased revenue streams, new student opportunities, and of course, bring all the fun of the circus to your school. So do go and visit showtimecircus.co.uk to find out what the new buzz is around circus skills.